are you talking about?
Yeah, I definitely need to record my audio, just even for 3 seconds, just beforehand, just to get a test case. Absolutely. All right, we're in. Randy, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome,
Hello,
welcome.
hello.
Good morning to you. How is your morning going
Yeah.
so far?
You know, I'm a dad, so my kid was having a very rough time this morning.
Mm.
He's also been sick with a ear infection, so that definitely does not help the situation, but he's in the phase where he loves his mom a lot. So whenever it's dad's turn to do anything, it's a little rough, but I know. It, this too shall pass is our motto when it comes to our kids. So,
God,
yeah.
yeah. Well, fair play to you, yeah, for even having the offspring, because I tell you, having two dogs is bloody enough. I hit 31 this year, or the last year, be 32 this
Nice.
year, and I will keep riding that childless wave for at least another couple of years. We'll see
That's
what
fair.
happens if my girlfriend wants me to, pump one in her. We'll see.
As long as your dog keeps like eating random objects, I'm sure he'll keep you busy.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah, does your child cost you $15,000 in 18 months? Because that's what my child just did.
I mean, that's how much it costs to get him to be alive. So,
Love that. Um, what do you end up then doing? What's the day job? What do you end up doing to get the
yeah.
bills paid?
So I am a product designer at Flatfile. It's a startup that my buddy David, who's the CEO of it, started like 5-ish years ago. And at that time, I was just doing, I was doing, same product design at like an enterprise company. Um, and he just needed a designer to help him. And so technically I'm employee number two at that company.
Sick.
So if, we ever strike it big, I'm buying many islands and just escaping from the world.
No, I love that. I love that. Did what kind of products then? Is it just is it digital, physical? What's
Yeah, so it's a software project. It deals with like data migration.
yeah.
If you've ever had to do data migration, it sucks.
Every
It's
single time
tedious,
we have to do an update
etc.
on any game
Exactly.
period where I have to go and
Right.
change
Yep.
user states. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Fuck's
Yep.
sake.
And so ours is mainly focused around like customer customer A is going to customer B software. And they need to bring that data. Usually, customer B has to either dedicate a whole team around that
Hmm.
experience, or like it's or they have to put a lot of it into their own customers' hands. And so what we do is we provide the software that is like the, I guess, middleman of that experience, which will like help transform the data, present it in a manner that is easy to digest, because not everyone is used to spreadsheets, not everyone's used to dealing with data. So like that is the challenge that we're solving for. There is like how do we make it presentable for the common person to use? Because there's tools like ETLs, there's data admin people can probably do this, but still that takes up a lot of time, right? So um, that's the problem we solve for.
No, I love that. A big problem as well too, and
Oh
something
yes,
that
yeah.
like is usually just handled by very technical engineers who
Hmm.
know the back end database and how it needs to be transposed for whatever new
Yeah.
columns, new updates that need to go in or not. Um, but it's curious because like yeah, these things they always need to happen. Like we have things that break constantly from our save files, like
Hmm.
between different versions. So it's like oh, a new version of our game is going to go out. Well, that's most likely going to change some data in the back end. That then all of a sudden
Yeah.
that dog, this player is on that dog. That thing has to go and then get pulled out, put somewhere else. It's just like, oh god, this is going to be it's a scary
Yeah.
situation every time. So if that can
Yep.
get proselytized and like made better, just in easier, and also just like more fundamental that it won't break. You know what I mean? Just
Yes.
like oh my
Yeah.
gosh, because I will break
Yep.
everything by all means.
Yep.
In your own
That's
sense of
fun.
it all, like this, that's cool as shit, right? It really does solve a problem. Um,
Yeah.
as a product designer, then what are you thinking about uh, when you're thinking about either as you've gone through the process of building this tool suite? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? What's been your like, you know, anything, your mantra, your mindset, something you've even just kept in your own head.
I mean, so one of our the thing that I've probably learned the most the last 5 years is like having like your vision define how you want to solve things.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was definitely a period of time where we had our vision, but we weren't really following our vision, and we were going this wayward path. And over the last couple of years, we had to course correct that experience and really make sure, like, hey, this is the vision that we started with. This is what got us excited. Like, let's make sure whenever we get a problem, we have that in context, right?
Yeah.
And so that whole entire course correction has been really eye opening. Something that I have kind of internalized and seen as like whenever I start my own company or whatever, like that is going to be like the main pillar, right? Like I need to make sure I understand what my vision is, what I will and will not solve for. I think is really important. So yeah, and then also just design wise, people don't read.
Yeah.
That's been that's like
oh
like
my god.
thing. People don't read, so like how do you show and tell people? How do you give that little bit of delight of like, hey, here are the things that we did, and like make it in a nice manner for users that are not used to that.
Yeah, working on a narrative game for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden
Oh.
you start showing it to people at conferences, and they're like, "Oh, this is really cool!" Like, stop! Just for 2 seconds. It's a narrative. Read it. It's a story. It's cute. There's dogs. Just read it for 2 seconds, please. I put so much work into this. It's half the game. God damn it! For fuck's sake. I love that. It used to be always this whole thing. They would always say like, yeah, you'll only capture the user playing for like the 5 minutes that they're gonna play before they get on the bus or whatever else like that. And then all of a sudden, session length times became like, they'll let them play for forever, 30 minutes sessions, like whatever, like let's go. And then now it's like, I don't know, it's just all split by genre, right? Like hyper casuals go play 18 minutes or something like that, even though the game loop is 30 seconds. But I mean, yeah, for fuck's sake. No, I love that. All right, so in your own mind then, all right, so as you're designing these things, you're always keeping the user focused, which is really, really important. But we know these days it's not just about building that product, right? And building that product for a reason is obviously going to help you to get into that market to do it.
Yeah.
But being number two, you must see the growth of the sales side of things as well too. I've getting into more of these like license projects and stuff like that, right? Like with even just the card game with Batsu, you have a product and you've built the game, but at some point you have to sell it, and that's a completely different mindset, a completely different skill. We're doing elevator pitches, we're doing cold calling, this all of this different things. It's like a different kind of UA, right? How have you guys fared on that side? Has there been anything that
the way you have definitely hit product market fit is when you don't have to do a lot of code calls. People were searching for answers for this problem.
Oh, cool.
And I would
that.
say it was just like instantly people were coming to us, they were finding us. Obviously now we have like more competitors, people are also getting fundings for this problem. But like in the beginning, it was just like people needed help with this problem. So when it first started, it was just like I said, it was just a small project, but we were still getting a lot of hits because people really needed help with this problem. So I would definitely say at the beginning, we were in a fortunate situation where it was just like people are coming to us. We didn't really have to do a lot of the outreach at that point. And so so now that I'm not as in touch with that sales side, I don't know how that is going. I assume we're definitely doing a lot more outbound reaching and a lot more ads in various places. But yeah, at the beginning, it was definitely just like they're just flooding to us.
I want to chime in real quick about that because there's this book that I'm kind of reading, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, who did PayPal and then moved on to other investing. But
Get your fucking stock price back up.
Yeah.
I've lost so much money on PayPal.
This dude's more like 1-0, am I right? But he says a lot of hot takes, and one thing he says is create a monopoly. Monopolies are great. And I mean, it's a hot take, and it sounds vicious, but it's very true, because when you have a monopoly, this is exactly what happens, which is people have a problem, they search for it, and you're the only product for to fit that. And that's not just a business thing. This is a game thing as well. When you're a game that stands out with no competition, you will reap a decent amount of rewards for it. So good, very good advantage you guys have.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, unless you slice it so niche that you're just like.
That's true. That's true.
No, that was the great thing, right? Nowhere. Like, that was like the thing we went for. We're like, we're gonna solve data transfer issues. We're gonna solve data migration issues, import issues. Like, we're wide, right? Healthcare, restaurants, logistical data, like any of that, like we can solve for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's always been our mantra since the beginning. And now, like, we've seen different plays in the space, so we're focusing on a little bit more of the higher end side of things, but it's still like we will solve for everyone experience.
No, I love it. In your mind then, right, where does this go for you, right? What is your ultimate goal within software development, or just within your career by itself, right? And I think, and I'll give this a little bit of context. We never know where this wandering path is really going to go. I think most people are very open to, the things that come within years to years, right? So it's always a little bit different. But just, I mean, where do you want to go with any of this? These are great skills to garner, but we can apply them in different ways.
Yeah. So I'll give a little backstory before I answer that question.
Totally.
So what? I don't know how long it's been now. How long have I been with my then girlfriend? 11, 12 years? 12 years ago, I got into an accident at work. I worked at a carpet warehouse, and I had a bale of used pad fall on top of me, which is like 1,000 pounds. Broke my teeth. My ankle still to this day kind of is like a little hurts.
You got hit by the Rick and Morty fucking...
Oh, yeah, man.
Rick and Morty. If anybody's seen that episode. Goddamn.
And so from there, I was like, all right, what am I going to do with my life? Because I'm not going to go anywhere in this company, right? Like, it's just a family-owned business. We're just doing the same shit every day. I can swear, right? I think I can swear. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, I give a shit for all of the 12 users who
No. 10 years from now, Randy will be canceled. The
carpet industry's coming after you, dude, for their safety practices.
But yeah, at that point, I was like, all right, I need to do something with my life. But I've always been interested in gaming. I've always been interested in programming. And so I gave myself like a year to, learn some kind of programming language, achieve something. I landed up in, web development, learning, HTML, JavaScript, a bunch of the different frameworks at that time. jQuery was the big thing. I don't know if you guys know about that.
Of course, yeah. I hate web, but I heard the names. I've just tried it so many times over the years and just been like, what is this fucking gibberish? Some people savant and click with it. It's never clicked with me ever.
It did. It clicked with me. But what's funny is my first ever actual language was C#, and that really clicked with me right away. Mm-hmm. And I have a buddy who's a .NET developer, and basically what I got from that is like, you need a little bit more time to be a .NET developer. So I'm like, I'm not going to be a .NET developer being self-taught. I can do it probably the other way. And so through that, I went through meetups. I just met a bunch of people. I couldn't afford to go to college or anything like that. So I just kind of grinded for a year while I still worked.
That's sick.
But I'm definitely someone that likes to think of the future, and like I also take risks. So David, the person that founded Flopfile at that time, was founding a different company, in Colorado, in Colorado Springs. Met him on Craigslist, sketchy. Went to the office, whatever, and from there on out, I basically got into the tech space. So I started with engineering, transitioned to design because I like that more human centered approach, but I still like engineering because you get at least front end experience. You get like the creative and the logical side of things. So it's really it was a nice fit for me. Um, and then through that, went through design, and I've been in design since. Still do some engineering at my job whenever they're like, "Hey, we need some CSS help or whatever." I'm like, "I got you guys. I have years in that."
Yeah, hell
Um,
yeah.
but I mean, during all that time, I've always thought about doing something in game development. I joined Calvin's meetup because like I knew that like that's where I want to be, right? At some point in my life, I want to be there. And so my goal with Flat File is currently, if and when we hit it big or hit it small, whatever, like I just want some kind of return. That would be nice. I definitely would love to fully transition into the game development space, have something that is my own.
Hmm.
I think that's something I've struggled with in terms of like I want something that I can call like my own, right? Even though I've been at Flat File at the beginning, it's still it's David's, right? It's still the CEO's. Like even though I've been there, I've helped solution a lot of things.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that life.
it's still not
It's
my
a weird
right.
it's a weird one to feel that way because
Yeah,
you're at the cusp of it at the right there, right? But
yeah,
you want that something about the risk of it, of the ownership
yeah,
of side of it
yep.
too. Like, but like you don't pay the bills. You're not necessarily like you might see the invoices. You might have wrote a few over the while, but like yeah, it's not specifically yours right at
Yeah,
that
Exactly.
moment.
and there
Yeah.
myself too. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yep.
already got your own thing. What are you talking
No,
about?
no, no.
You're a
I mean, I was, I
you're a
was
two
like,
person team crushing right now.
yeah. Before that, I was like second in command,
Oh
so
right,
I,
yeah,
Yeah,
I, I can definitely understand the desire.
yeah.
yeah,
It's a weird feeling because like I wish I was just satisfied. I mean, my own personal career growth. I've always said that like I could never. Not that I could never, but I never necessarily wanted to be the solo doing it myself, right? Like,
yeah,
especially you talk to a lot of people, especially younger kids these days, and they're like, "I want to run my own studio. I want to own my own shit." I'm like, "Okay, cool," but like maybe find a couple of people, like you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have a partner. Like, it's okay
yeah. Oh yeah,
to like
oh yeah,
get it to there. But no, I feel you. Like, absolutely, there's some weird drive there that I haven't necessarily been able to nail down
yeah,
the craziness by all means.
yeah. And
But
like the feeling is like at least I want to try. If I fail, I fail. If I succeed, even better. But I at least want to try, and I know I can always get a job in whatever space, right? So, yeah, that part doesn't scare me as much as it used to before. Um, Before I actually like took the plunge of like I can learn how to code now. I'm like, oh shit, I can probably do anything I want now. No,
no,
but yeah,
still though.
uh, but yeah, just you see if I can succeed, see if my ideas can, you know, do something out there in the world. That would be cool.
Can I ask then, at what age was this type of stuff in your own self starting to like learn how to do the C sharp and jump through those hoops? Because that's a monumental feat to be able to start off from rudimentary understanding of anything and
Yeah,
just get yourself as deep into it as possible, and then be at a point in your career now where you're writing production code. Like you made it. You know what I mean? You did it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
you. You know what I mean? So many people come out of college without even soft skills that they can't
Yeah.
do anything. You know what I mean? At the same
yeah.
time too. So it's like you know
I think I was 24. Yeah, I was around 24 or 25. That's
yeah.
when I started. Yep.
Sick. Yeah, and that's about no good age for it for sure. Absolutely. You mean not that anybody
Yeah.
can't do it. I'm just trying to think about it right now. Like one of my colleagues went and showed me this book about data orientated design patterns, and
Mhm.
you know when we're making games, every game that I try to make these days is as data driven as possible. Right?
Mhm.
Everything is data. Everything's an object. I work with independent developers, and they don't necessarily always understand that. Like, hey, like, if we're making a dog, I need to have like a dog builder. I need to have like a dog class like that takes all of these things. I can then make hundreds of dogs, right? I don't need to. It's not this specific dog that you're making or anything else like that. But
Yeah.
it's a scary thing trying to figure out how to jump back into all of those things and level up those code patterns without necessarily going back to school or like looking at some
Yeah.
serious code course online or something. But yeah, no, it's a mean feat. So fair play to you on all of that. Absolutely. But how does this then, in your own mind, right, transition into your own type of play? Like, do you classify yourself as a gamer? Do you play? You know what I mean? What kind of stuff? If you were gonna go and play some games, what do you like to play?
I guess I'm a
You're
gamer.
smiling already.
I'm like, I'm a gamer, whatever. There is some negative connotations sometimes around it, but so I would say I've had a very weird transition to my life. At first, I was very much a like strategy only person. Like, I played Age of Empires 2, StarCraft 1,
Yeah, hell yeah.
Warcraft, Warcraft 2 and 3, all those games, Total Annihilations, whatever, right? So those were the main games I played. I got to a point where I was like decent at them that I can start competing. So Warcraft 3 was kind of like I hit my peak where I got like a few mouse pads and maybe $100 here and there.
Sick,
right? Like,
sick,
Nice.
sick.
so that was the nice experience of like, yeah, I can do this. And then of course, Dota hits that scene. I'm obsessed with Dota.
And it's game over. I'm going into a hole for like another year and a half or something. Yeah.
Pretty much. Like when I dropped out of college, I played that for probably a good year of like every night. I'm putting maybe 6 hours into that game.
Yeah.
About minimum hours you need to play.
About minimum. I'm probably not. I don't want to say the real number, but
I lost years of my life to League of Legends. I call that game heroin for a bloody reason.
Hey,
I
haven't gotten to that game yet.
Yeah, I'm not going back to the secret sauce. I'm not doing it. As much as you're screaming at your fucking monitor, just like, and then all of a sudden you come out of it and you're like, that was a great game, guys. That was a lot of fun. And you're like,
yeah, good. Yeah, I had fun. I'm like, I'm relaxing to this game, guys.
Yeah.
It's super chill.
Yeah, definitely my heart, not like 140 BPM, just like having an anxiety attack and screaming at people the whole time. Yeah, fuck it, hell. No, I totally feel you on all of those fronts. So then from RTS then, I mean, geez, so you got onto a competitive side of video gaming, which is interesting because I feel like that there's a different breed of person that comes in from there. Were you ever a competitive sport kind of guy, growing up? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I ran track all through high school. I also did Muay Thai competitively. So I still have bruises and scars from doing Muay Thai. I there was at some point in my life where I was very angry, and so Muay Thai was a very perfect outlet for that experience. Whether I'm beating someone up or they're beating me up, it was perfect for that.
Sure. No worries.
And then I got a concussion, and I was like, "This is stupid." So I never did it again.
Oh, I love that.
And then I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this.
No, I grew up playing sports, and then I think I had a bad injury on my knee that turned into an even worse injury. Long and short, like ACL, meniscus tear, but my knee completely froze up. My whole leg froze up like this into a triangle, and then when I went to the hospital, they went and pushed it out. They just went and like with no working or anything. They just didn't really accept like that there was something wrong with it really bad.
Oh Jesus!
And then that ripped a bunch of other stuff. Then they put me in 9 weeks of PT when I needed surgery. So then all of the bone, everything around it deteriorated, and it just turned into this horrible thing. But then I found Call of Duty, and I found Xbox Live, and it was game on from there. Where
the World War II Call of Duty, or
it was
Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare, yeah, Modern Warfare. I'm on the bog. I'm with the boys, and we're just blasting people. Like we got to the point where like we knew where all of the spawns were, and we knew how to manipulate the spawns, so we could shoot all of these people and then just not go into a proximity of an area, and we knew that they would always just spawn in that little area. So we would just do not go in there. Just lob grenades. Just we're racking up 100 kill lobbies. Like, I mean, but move that into competitiveness. Then there was like, okay, now we're going into MLG leagues. Okay, then I got my first PC.
Yeah.
It's like now we're playing Counter-Strike. I don't think I ever, like, back in the day. You mean, yeah, sure, on consoles or whatever, we get to play a single player game and enjoy it, but there was nothing that ever gripped me more in gaming than it was like a seriously try to be competitive video game.
What Counter-Strike did you play? 1.6 or Source?
1.6 and Source, and then a
Oh,
little
you played
bit,
both.
yeah,
Dang.
and then a little bit of Go, and then
You're one of the rare ones because usually people were like it's either 1.6 or it's Source.
Oh,
for
yeah.
me.
yeah, no, I hit 1.6 on the end tail, and then right as it
Okay.
transitioned to Source, and
Alright.
that was an entertaining time, to say the least, because yeah, like I thought I was that was how I got my first like taste of game development, was making maps for Counter-Strike
yeah.
Source. So we ended up at, like, long later, we ended up having like a competitive server and a community server, and we pay for the competitive server through like little cups called like LO3 cups, like live on 3, and then
Yep.
we had the other server was 32 slots, and we had to have some fun. We had to have like some stuff for it. So I just started like making little maps and like getting into Photoshop and making like skins and literally just dumping them onto the server. It was the first time I ever interacted with an FTP. It's just like first time I ever did any of these types of things, and yeah, and it was great. It was a wild west back then. You could just do whatever the hell you wanted to. Wiki wild. I love it. But
Calvin, you had your hand up.
yeah.
Oh, no, I just thought it was cool that we have this triangle of games where we got a fighting game competitor in one corner, got the FPS guy, and then we have the RTS guy. So
I mean, Calvin went the farthest. You were at Evo, bro. You were
I did
facing
play pretty hard.
the champs.
yeah. Been a world champion myself. I don't
Wait,
think
what?
I've. Yeah.
What?
Did I ever tell you that, Sean?
I don't think you ever told me that
yeah?
you actually made it as a world
Oh,
champion.
no. I was a world champion. I was in 2016. I won Combo Breaker, which is the most notorious mystery game tournament in the world.
Oh, right.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, I constantly told this kid, get back on the bloody stage. Like, just stop
Right,
making
bro?
games. Just get
Oh,
on
no,
the
no, no,
court.
no, no.
They make
What are
money
we
now,
doing
all
here?
right?
Yeah.
Listen. I'm waiting for everyone to catch up. That's all. So go on. This is a
That is
Randy
the
show.
dumbest-
This
that
is a Randy
There's
show.
free money. Go get free money, bro.
I'm waiting for people to catch up.
It gets boring. It gets boring at
It
the
gets
top.
boring. That's fair. There are champions who say that. It just gets boring after you win your first one. So
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, the transition, like Sean was telling his transition, was the point where you're like, I want to do game dev, and what was like your first projects and stuff?
I'd say so. There's after I got sucked into like the League of Legends world as well. That was also my crack that I kicked 3 years ago.
Nice.
So,
Nice. Yeah, hell yeah.
There was definitely a period of time where I was like, I don't find games enjoyable. Mainly at least in the AAA space, I was like, all of it is like around shooting, killing. You know, I had debates with my buddy Chuck about it a lot of time. Like all these games are just you're just killing someone, you're shooting someone. I don't really care. And so there's probably a while there when I was heads down doing the transition into the tech space, where I didn't really play a lot of games. And then comes this one game. Calvin knows this game. Little old Hollow Knight came
Oh.
and kind of wrecked me. I was like, man, games are fun again. This is fun. I don't know if it was a combination of like I'm finally in the space that I want to be in, so I feel comfortable and like I can like actually relax and do things. but yeah, Hollow Knight was definitely that piece that was like, oh yeah, I remember I liked games. I remember I always wanted to make games. Like, let's try that. And shortly after that, that's when I joined, the meetup and started kind of like experimenting with little things here and there, um, but never really put anything out. On I'd say my real project I was excited to put out was like this year and earlier this year as well. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's always the great call that you'll be told over the years of like get your first 10 out of the way. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Just get your first 10 out of the way.
Yep.
They'll always just make sure that you complete them. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a big
Yeah.
problem I had as a younger person. It's just like it never followed through. Like get the
Mhm.
ideas like 25% down on paper, and then all of a sudden it'd be like next thing, right? But the biggest thing is just honestly just completing them more
Yeah.
than anything else. But how is that? Yeah, like you mean, what's the one that you're probably like most proud of like right now? I
I
mean,
would say the
or
last one
yeah,
that I put out.
is
The
it
one
up there on the itch
a very
or?
yeah, it's on the itch. It's a very short game. Probably beat it in like 5 minutes, but I was really proud in terms of like how quickly I executed on it. Um, so my plan
Alone,
has
is it?
been yeah, alone.
Cool.
My plan has been like every 3 months I'll release something, whether it's small, big, whatever it is. I'll release something just to have it out there. Um, doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. I'm okay with that. And so with that game, I was working on a different game. I wasn't having fun with it. I said I'm gonna give myself like 2 days to try this other idea that I have, and lo and behold, Chat GPT was doing its crazy thing in the world. And I was like, let me use Chat GPT and see how it can help me. And it was great. It helped me, at least definitely in the beginning, right? Like it helped set me up in terms of like what I want my code to be, what like any ideas around that experience. And so
Do you pay for the subscription?
I do now.
I
I
am
do
going
now.
to really soon as well too. I think I jumped on the Mid Journey yesterday to try and grab some stuff, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm a fucking peasant over here, and they won't put me on the cycle." It's like, okay, cool. I need pictures. I need stuff. I gotta learn how to integrate these things. I'm moody right now. Look at this. I'm in a moody space.
You're in a
I'm
moody space. Hey, that is a goal that I wanted to achieve.
I
Moody
don't like
space.
this. I don't like this. I'm going backwards. I'm not doing that.
Oh,
Forward,
some
left.
UX issues.
Oh,
There we go.
no, it's okay. I
Nice.
figured it out. Oh, okay. Gained 1 HP. Sick.
But essentially, this game idea came from playing. Oh man, Calvin, what was the name of the game?
Franken.
Playing Franking. And the thing that really struck me about Franken was like the combat and how it worked, and getting like different level ups to help you when you fight. And so in there was like there are different characters that can help you fight. One was like every time I attack, they'll attack. So that's what this like archer perk is. Like every time you attack, they'll attack you. They'll attack as well. And I just found it very simple. Really enjoyed it. There's a whole meta about the story as well, but like the thing that stuck out to me was like that combat experience. And so I just wanted to try that combat experience out. And that was like the whole thesis for this game. um, I also wanted to try out where like the boss is right at the beginning. So the second hallway that you go down, like you could actually just end up fighting the boss. You die, you're like, oh shit, like how do I actually end up beating this guy? So you just go explore around all these places, get
Oh,
perks, get upgrades.
so that was them
Um,
at the end of that ominous
yeah,
hallway.
exactly. Yep, yep. I try to get him, look a little ominous.
I just saw this and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a big dog. Like I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way, dude. Dog diggity, he's gonna kill me. I'm trying to like feel out the things, but I'm in a very afraid moment right now. Like honestly, like I love horror games. I love like little What?
Fuck,
Yeah,
fight
again.
it. You got this, man.
No, see ya. I sneak.
I see.
Oh damn!
See, look at that. You do 6
I
damage.
wrecked that guy.
And that's also the other thing in Franken is after you defeat an enemy, your health returns, and you gain +1 attack. And so you're just constantly getting stronger the more people you beat. The enemies in this game are also getting stronger as well. And I think you just might have hit a bug, but that's okay.
Don't look directly at the bugs. You're fine.
One of the
oh, go ahead. Oh, no, I guess you have one more. There's only 4 enemies, so.
Wreck 'em. Oh, yep. Dude, swung me for 6. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, bug. No.
Now you're trapped in a nightmare.
Now you're trapped in it. Oh, there you go. Hey, at least you do 12 attack now.
Yeah, no,
go fuck up the boss now.
So I kind of figured out how that was working. I was just like mashing spacebar. So for whatever reason, it put me back in a loop of like attack again, like reload the combat thing. But I knew I was getting more currencies, so I was just like, hell yeah, ooh,
the big dog.
These things are
big boss.
Yes, I one shot him. I'll take it. So actually, weirdly love it. Perfect for my type of like style of art style. I jumped in, got into a big feeling, felt very insecure within that space. But the biggest thing to me that stands out is like everything worked. There's so many times that I've like played games like that, like on itch or whatever, and it's devoid of a little tutorial. It's devoid of like readability of like, what am I supposed to even do here? What buttons are supposed to be on screen? Like how do I even move? How do I attack? What am I supposed to be doing? And it's just as simple enough to just be enjoyable, but keep me on the edge of my seat at the same time, right? Even when those things are attacking me back, I'm like, I don't know what all the combat balance is. I don't know if this thing is going to one-shot me. There's not like a level. I'm not this level and they're that level, so I can tell, like, am I at power parity or whatever? I don't really care. I'm just like
swing in and seeing if it works.
I guess, you know what I mean? But but I kind of actually love that at the same time too. So, tell me, how long did that take? Was that for a jam, or was that just you just trying to explore something within yourself or within the code base?
I would say that's something a little bit of both. But in terms of timeline, it took me about 2 weeks, but I would say like in terms of hours, maybe like 20 hours total to finish it over that time. I got a massive part of it done like the first 2 weeks. I mean, the first 2 days, and then I got stuck on shaders because I really wanted to get that like whole
that weird
pixelated look and like that. I was like, oh, I really want to try that. And so shader graphs kind of threw me for a loop there.
I got to put that little indie spice on it right there.
Exactly.
Gotta put that little pixel shader over there, something.
But I mean, also like you said, like I wanted to go for that. Like, I wanted to feel like you're trapped in this place and like a little claustrophobic. In my mind, like some of the UX things were like, I know people can feel lost in that experience as well. That's like one of the bigger complaints in that genre in general. So like, how do I make it feel like you're not going to get lost as much? Like, you just go around this like little map, keep it simple, put torch lights around so that you like, oh yeah, this is where that boss was. Okay, I can come back to that guy later. But ultimately, like it was exploring this idea. Also, like I said, I had a deadline that I'd given myself, so I needed to hit that deadline and have something done. So, yeah.
No,
so I'll definitely agree with what Sean said, which is just knock out 10 games, like kind of as soon as you can with a deadline. And I think and then there's advice to any of the viewers who are in similar situations, which is you should be maximizing your learning rather than necessarily focusing on other things. So I kind of knew the backstory of the game and Franken and stuff. And I really like your approach, which was you saw an interesting concept in Franken. And then you decide to just isolate that and then explore it. Because I think you probably came with a lot of lessons learned doing this project, whether it's design or just setting up a 3D world and all that stuff. So I definitely like that. And I guess like a quick question is like, what's the biggest learning you had from the game?
What is the biggest learning? What is the biggest learning? Oh man. I guess a lot of it was on the engineering side, I would say.
Mhm.
A lot of it is definitely together. Maybe I don't know.
That's probably
Like
fine.
I'm using a lot of like it's not manager like instances that don't get destroyed. So like I have my game manager, and then I have like this combat manager that's keeping track. That's like communicating with the game manager to pull down your attack and your HP and all that stuff, and then also trying to do like the whole like turn-based battle. That probably took the longest for me. Was like that whole turn-based battle of like you press spacebar, then the AI attacks, and then if you have a perk, your perk activates and does something. So there's two perks. There's the archer one, and then like there's the defender one that you take less damage with. Um, and so doing that whole combat experience probably could have been easier if I didn't have this whole like turn-based thing where it's like you get close to the enemy, you just play spacebar, you start fighting right there and then. But I really wanted to take it out of that space for it. Yeah, but I would definitely say a lot of it was engineering led, um, saving data across different scenes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those are the big things, right? Like the
Yeah.
resetting of things we used to be always
Yes.
such a big problem for me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to go back to this. I actually have to go and like I can't just straight through. Like I have to clean things up again. Like what are you talking about? And there would always be
Yeah.
some weird bloody edge case that I would just never think about. And then
Yeah.
everything would
I mean,
break and you're just like, "Oh, okay, cool, sweet." Don't know how to
yeah,
fix that.
like the bug that you encountered. Like I'm like I have no idea how. Like I can't repo it. I don't know how why it keeps happening. But like because the data is just supposed to come back saying that object is now dead and
Yeah.
destroyed. And so something happens in the game where it like refreshes, but then the enemy is still in that same position. Yeah, I don't know how to. One day I'll figure it out.
No, for sure. Um, so if you're on these deadlines and you're trying to build these things in certain periods of time, um,
Mhm.
obviously hard to do with a day job, hard to do with being a father. Uh,
Mhm.
you're finding the time to do these things, which is incredible by themselves. What's the next one? What's the next seed of
Ooh,
something that you're gonna pull out from
ooh.
somewhere else?
So I just pitched it to the meetup.
Oh, love it.
um, but so I've been back on my strategy game kicks
Oh no.
with Call Company Heroes 3 coming out. I was like, oh man, I miss strategy games. I downloaded a whole bunch of different strategy games again just to play them. Um, but essentially, yeah, I want to make like an auto battler RTS,
Sure.
where very short experience, like 5 minutes maximum. You're battling over different tiles. Units unlock at different intervals in the experience, whether
Hmm.
it's through resources or whether that's through time constraints. Um, yeah, so that's the next one.
Isometric point and click, or with like click drag and highlight enemies or highlight friendly
Oh, so
units and stuff,
oh,
or
I need to get into a little bit more context. So the objective is there's like 3 different lanes. I guess can I share my screen?
yeah,
Is
of
that
course, why not? Yeah, go
okay?
for it.
All right, yeah. Let me pull something up here. Let me get my Google. I
No,
can get my
it's
Google slide.
it's always so funny, like when I've talked to a number of different people where they're like, "Oh yeah, you mean I'm making my first like couple of games or whatever," and then all of a sudden they start dropping like, "Let's make an MMORPG. Let's
Nah,
make the
man.
biggest thing possible." And I'm like, well, "Okay, all
I,
right, good
I'm
luck."
I'm realistic.
Yeah, if you did this as your first game, it probably would have been pretty difficult.
Yeah, it probably would have been hard.
Not to jump
Um,
off. I just want to grab some coffee real fast. Keep going. Keep
yeah, no
going.
problem. Excuse me. So the premise like I said, comes from playing a bunch of different strategy games. And the one aspect that I really love about strategy games, or at least these types, are the defined that you have. Some know which iteration, but it's Company of Heroes, and the way that's played is there are different points that you capture on the map, and then within your like tactical map, you can like see the area of influence that you have or control that you have. And I've always liked that. As a kid, I've always like drawn maps of like I come up with like warring factions that like they gained this much territory now or they lost territory, like stuff like that. And I've always been interested, and I like that. And so like Civilization does that with your
Oh yeah,
info.
especially at the end of the game, you watch the
Yeah,
whole
yeah, you're
story
like, oh, yeah,
unfold. Yeah,
exactly. There's like a story there,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. There's a story with that territorial control. Um, and so this idea, I call it Command Star, not final, but or actually Command All, since if you're a data person.
There you go.
But essentially, the objective is two opponents fighting over control of these tile spaces. The objective are either control the most amount of tiles by the end of 5 minutes or destroy your opponent. And so this is like a little scenario that I played in my head, where in this case, red put a lot of their troops, sent a bunch of their troops down the middle, while blue was kind of like exploring other avenues as well. At the last minute, they noticed like, oh shit, red is coming for me. Like I need to start sending auto spotting my troops down the middle as well. And through that, there are special units that could flank, but generally most units just you get a lane. That's the lane that they go down, and the path that they continue onwards. So that's kind of like the general feel that I'm going for this. In terms of like what I envision for the future would be like a mobile game. It wouldn't be left to right. It would be similar to like
Top down.
Clash Royale.
Vertical.
Yeah, like yeah, vertical. Yeah, it would be more of a vertical experience. But for this iteration, I want to just explore some of the concepts that I have in my head and see how that would work.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
that's
territory control games. It always,
yeah.
especially when you look at it as like this abstract layer, like from just like a visual side, there is the individual troops and units layer that will
Mhm.
only be looked at if you're really like hardcore looking at it. But
Yeah.
the tile flipping side of just seeing like, oh, I'm being defeated here, like I'm being
Yes.
pushed back over
Yeah.
here, like you'll be able to do so many cool high level visualizations of just like what's actually happening on the battlefield. It's almost like
Oh yeah.
the units themselves won't matter then at those points. It's like what were those mushroom games that you would send them
Yeah,
into huts, and then there would like a counter would go up, and it
yeah.
was like
Mushroom games.
I'm trying to think of it's just
Galcon is one of them, but I know the genre. It's like kind of they came from old Flash games even.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, send
just kinda-
send me.
no, it's just lane battler territory control things where you're
Yeah.
literally just making troops and sending them to a specific thing,
Fight
and just
yeah.
they sit they don't they the fighting happens completely off screen, like it doesn't even happen on
Oh,
the
okay.
screen. They
Okay,
just
yeah.
it's you fight with numbers. So if you have a building that has 50 units and I send 60, I take over with 10.
Ah, okay.
So it's like
yeah.
it just ends up being like really easy, simple math that way.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah.
this is a bigger undertaking feat by all means, right? Now we're building some centralized tech. We're building some core stuff. In your estimation, how are you going to go and keep yourself on the straight and narrow here? Is it because like I always find that the bigger the idea is, I'll work on it for a bit, and then all of a sudden something will kind of take over, right? I might miss a week, I might miss a couple of days, and then
Yeah.
lose a little bit of motivation or understanding. How are you keeping yourself motivated to? This is the one I want to work on.
Yeah. So I'd say for me, um, there were definitely points where I'm like, oh, if I miss a day, that's bad, whatever. I've kind of embraced it now. Like it's like if I miss a day, that's okay. I still have like my to dos. Like these are the things I want to achieve for the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so I'm not putting it on like this is what I'm going to do every single day. So per week I have these my lists of things to do. But also I think the other side is like I think I'm very good at scoping
Mm-hmm.
and making it feel like I'm making some kind of progress, and that's enough to keep me motivated. Um, so like this last week and maybe I guess week and a half now, like I've gotten the unit spawning. You can switch to different units. There's only two. You can switch to different units on both sides. The units flip over the cards when they pass over them. Like so, I've gotten a lot of the like what I assume is like the very basic core experiences. And then the next experience is like how do they interact when they see each other? They need to stop moving. They need to shoot at each other. Stuff like that. While I'm doing that, I'm also thinking about the economy design, like how will this actually like play out, like right, like it's not just gonna be you are units always gonna be just be spawning. Do they cost some kind of resource, whether it's mana or like the different tiles on the board generate different kind of resources. um yeah, what's that experience like? So that's like what I have, you know that I'm sketching out or thinking about every day, and kind of planning around.
Does it keep you excited then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think this is a good game idea. So that's the part that probably keeps me the most excited. Every time, every person I've talked to about it, they're like, "Oh man, this is actually like that's a cool game idea." Like some of your other games idea were like, "Eh," but like this is like cool. Like I would actually play this. I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool."
No, fully
So.
agree. I love the starting of this. In your own then estimation, right? Like you're able to
Mhm.
get these things done, start working on them. Are you able to build a routine within your life around the hobby? Like this extra stressor that you're putting on yourself that is making video games, right? Like you're at work, you're doing your thing. You have to deal with all of that. There's obviously just home life for us all, in one way, shape, or form. There's our
Mhm.
partner relationship with our partners. You know what I mean? That has to happen, and you need to take some time away from the computer. I do at least. I have to try to pull myself away, um, more so these months than not. But I find it very difficult to then, once you're in a routine and you have an established routine, it's fine to kind of like stick into those things, but they can deteriorate and kind of like,
Mhm.
and getting back to them can be kind of difficult. Is there anything that's been steady in your life within those sides of things, or is it more of I find the time when I can find the time, and I make good bursts?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I find the time when I can make the time. I also use it as a way to give myself a reward
Mm,
in terms of like, all right, I've done maybe 15 minutes, I've done 30 minutes of something, like I can now play a game or I can like now do something else, right? Like, at least for me, that's definitely helpful to just have other motivating factors of just pushing myself through it. Um, yeah, but basically, it's when I find time, I do it. Sometimes it's in the morning. Usually around this time, I do something before I start working, or after work. I might have a little me time that I'll use to just think through an idea or code something out, design something. Yeah.
a little bit of a switch of topic, right? But
Mhm.
as a Muay Thai guy, I mean, are you able to keep up on your workout routines? Like, are you able to find time for
Oh
yourself
no.
on any of those
Oh no.
things?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
That's gone.
I'm just creating a bread bin over here. It's just we're just
So
the fupa's getting worse and worse. I tell you, I need to
uh,
figure out how do I get back to shape, Andy. That's not a circle or an
hey, let
oval.
me tell you about this new thing that I just told Calvin. It's called rucking, all right? And I learned it from my buddies that just visited. They left last night. So one thing that is nice, at least working for Flatout, is like I get like a at home stipend, and
I love it.
so I was able to purchase the portable treadmill that's like right underneath my desk, and so I use that. Whatever. I'm like, all right, I haven't seen the light of day in like 10 hours. Like, let me like at least walk a little bit, right? But this new thing called rucking, all right. This is proven, I think. I don't know.
I love it. I'm so enthralled.
um, but essentially, the whole idea is like you have a backpack, you put weights in the backpack, and you walk with it. And essentially, it's not as much impact as running,
Hmm.
but you still get your heart rate up. You're building muscles, your core muscles at least with it, and it's also works on like pulling back your spine to a proper posture.
Yeah.
And so that is something I've started trying. I was like, this is pretty cool. Like I can feel the benefits of right away. Like I'm sore in the middle. Like I'm like, okay, at least I'm doing something while I'm at this desk. And it's not just walking, right? Like walking is okay, but it's not the most efficient in terms of like trying to build muscle or cardio work. So
No, I
I
get it.
gotta admit, it does look really sleek. It's not like carrying a big hiking backpack. It's like carrying
yeah,
a
yeah,
nice little tactical
yeah.
backpack sort of
I
thing.
mean, I'm just using my regular backpack right
Oh,
now, and
okay.
the more I get into it, then yeah, I'll probably get a real tactical backpack. But from what I understand, this is something the army does, and like everything else. So yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of the workout angle, I
Mhm.
found a meetup in town for a calisthenics workout and, just body weight training. And I had been a part of it for a while, but I just ignored
Mhm.
it. I was like, it's too far away. It's at the park, and I don't like going outside. But then the guy, he changed it up. He's like, I'm building this skill tree for building your calisthenics stuff. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm interested. I want to go there. I want to critique. I'll show you what a skill tree is.
Progression? Like,
He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly,
ooh,
I know
okay.
exactly.
progression.
Yeah. So I showed up. I showed up there and I did it. And then, like, I guess there's this app called Simple Skill Tree or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where you can set up skill trees for your students, and you set it up. And yeah, I like going there. I like checking off the boxes. It was cool. I was interested because they implemented game design techniques into it. So I was like, all right,
Gamification, baby.
yeah, exactly.
Put
Just,
it everything.
just reminds me of watching these things of like the gamified toothbrush.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, all right, There
All
was
right.
there was a period there of 3 years that was like gamify the world, like just
Yeah.
fucking. I was like, please, just no. Can we just, for God's sake?
When does gamification go too far? That's a question for y'all. Like when does it go too far? Is it the toothbrush thing?
It's,
Is
I,
that too
I,
far or
no limit for me.
no limit for you?
No
All
limit.
right, Sean.
there is definitely a fucking limit. There's absolutely a goddamn limit.
All right. Let me just okay.
If you
So
start
progression.
gamifying my coffee order, I swear to God, I will fucking flip. It's hard enough for me
I mean, they
to.
do, right? Like the hole punch stuff. Like isn't that gamification?
No, I get
Like
you,
isn't.
but
Yeah.
look. All right, I'm a simple man. All right, I'm a simple man. I wanted black in the cup. I don't care. Just give it to me, please. No milk, no sugar, no pump of this. It's fine. Each to their own. Everybody has their own thing. I just want the cup of black in the goddamn cup. That's all I want. That's what I need.
No. What if after 100 cups they give you a golden cup? They're like, oh, this guy's 100 customer. He gets the golden cup every time. Just saying.
Right?
Is it well?
Come on.
Is it real gold?
No,
Like the price of
definitely
gold
not.
is going up. I will invest in that right now. If we have an
It is
economic angle, okay.
Very
I
cheap
might
yellow
make
color.
I might make my like RuneScape. I'm buying thousands of cups just for the sake of it, of hoarding these things.
Yeah.
No,
But with progression, having a nice visual progression towards your goal, I think, always works. Now, I will say, if you have a generation that's raised on everything gamified, they will be screwed probably for the rest of their lives. But it's okay because I'm not a part of that generation. So,
yeah, I think like
You're just influencing that generation.
yeah.
yeah, to give like more of a serious answer, I think exactly that. If it's gamify the world and everything is gamified and you're going up through that, there's other sides of this that people don't really necessarily see from the psychology, standpoint, right? Which is the compounding problem of failure within areas that should be safe to fail in, right?
Yeah.
If everything is just like I need to work harder, or I need to do this, or I'm losing out on time on this, or any of these types of ideals, especially if it's just for as simple as something of just like gathering food, or or going for a hike, and I'm not meeting my goals, I'm not meeting my minutes, I'm not meeting my every little thing all the time,
Yeah.
and you're getting a constant reinforcement of being hit with those things.
Yeah.
I think that there's an impending factor on the psyche that can occur, where it's like I like to hit like a little bit more of a naturalistic approach with these things these days, which is just take balance. It's not necessarily like the life experience is not necessarily about ripping around the place and constantly being productive and constantly meeting goals and constantly doing things. Having not even just like a little bit of downtime, but like having an internal moment to yourself of like it is okay to not do that thing as
Yeah.
much as you want to. Like maybe that sounds like lazy or whatever at the same time, but if you are a productive person, and you know are constantly running around the place and stressing yourself for being as productive as possible, and then there's just I can just see that I mean I've seen it in people, I've seen it in myself. Like there's just times where then you can get into real negative waves, like drip into just this ultimate pool of depression, where if you're just not hitting the things that you want to hit, and maybe you just don't have it in you, or maybe you do have it in you but you've been compounded and beaten down on yourself, so now you just you don't want to, so even getting back onto the horse is a very difficult, almost impossible task, and that by itself is something that like I try to stay away from within my own like mind patterns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say I was definitely last few years. I was definitely there, where it's like, all right, I'm trying to do all these things, I'm not, like, and just putting the stress on myself for no reason. And it's like, all right, I need to take a step back and really assess what do I want, and like how can I approach it from a different angle. Granted, like I can afford to do that because I have an awesome day job. Like, not everyone is in that position, right? So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
not everybody should be freaking. I mean, this. I don't know. Like, that's the right. To me, this is the right way to do independent
yeah,
game development,
yeah,
right? You're making a game to yourself. You're not trying to structure a team around it. You're not trying to do
yeah,
anything else. You're keeping yourself incubated and saying, like, yeah, I'm safe. Like, I've got my job, and I can do
mhm,
this the other thing. I don't need to be doing it full time, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
and also like probably doing it full time might be detrimental because you're not putting the amount of time later on to think, learn, and affording yourself that time to actually like move up that ladder.
yeah,
And by doing it the way that you're doing it, you also can then like save a little bit and be like, oh, I'm gonna spend $300 on this artist and like get a little art pack together and
yeah.
pump that into the game. And it's not do or die at the same time as well too. It's not like I will fucking lose my house if this game isn't a success. It's like, nah, I'm just making stuff, and I'll just see kind
Yeah.
of where it goes. And if it gets out there and it's profitable, then great, awesome. Then I'll pump that into the next one, and then by the third one, then I'll quit everything and make it work, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, like I always say that like all of these things, not to keep talking, is like especially in the independent side, or whenever we're like creating art, it's like we're creating wholly from ourselves to put out into the world, right?
Mhm.
And by doing so, we're just trying to put out something that's like an impressionist thing. As designers, though, we're creating wholly from ourselves for somebody else, right? Like we're building it for a purpose, we're building it to say a message, we're building it to do something else. Whereas art doesn't necessarily need to give a message, it doesn't need to necessarily like have a reason to exist. It can just be a temporal thing, like in a space, or exist in a moment of time or anything like that. Like, you know, banana on the wall type of stuff, but or yeah, but like where Mark Rothko for me is like is design. It's like I've made this gigantic painting and I've painted it in these colors and these shapes specifically for this space, and it's supposed to imbue something onto you, and it's hard to get to do those things as impactful as we want them to be if we're not afforded the time. We're kind of stressed about it, and yeah, and so it's great that you're just doing that yourself. You're finding that outlet for yourself and continuing to push it forward. And I mean, by all means, we all wish you all the best with every endeavor that you do going
Maybe
forward.
I can hire you guys to Happy Distractions one day. You know.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll
You
just be
couldn't.
sitting around talking.
You couldn't afford me, baby. No, I have no idea. No, I hope that that's one of these days. No, like that's the thing is, I think we all hope that we're all doing our own thing, and I think that that's whatever that looks like in the future. Who knows? You know what I mean?
So I'll pass that question back to you guys, or the question you asked earlier, like, what is your guys's like goal? Like, what's your end goal with being in the space? Is it to teach? Is it just get a bunch of money? Is it make cool things and get a bunch of money? Like, what's your ultimate end goal? Calvin, I'll start with Calvin.
Mine's quick. Yeah, I mean, making money is certainly a goal along the way.
Everyone wants
if you know about end game, then I have always been very frustrated at the games that are out there. I'm always like, what are you guys doing? This, like, you should have done this. There's so many more interesting things you could have done than copy this other game. And my motto is that we've only discovered 1% of the game designs out there. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So if true end game, if I can somehow like inspire people and then also teach people to explore the other 99%, I'd be very happy as an old person, just retired and sitting back and playing some interesting games.
I mean, I'll definitely, as someone that's part of the meetup, I think you've done that already, right? Like with the prompts that you bring to the meetup and like the questions that this is just as discussions that we get to have, I think has been really eye opening for me. So yeah, keep on doing it, man. It's awesome.
That's I keep
learned
down.
a lot.
I keep down. Totally fostering this great little individual community. A lot of you that have some serious discussions on there, and it's amazing to see. Can somebody plug the actual Discord just so we can see?
No, you got to be born into it.
All right, we're great.
No, but for real, I do. Like you said, you do need to start. You need to start with a small community, because if you're welcoming everyone, it starts watering it down. Everyone has different interests. So
wait, hot take: diversity is bad.
No, I don't know. That's not what he's saying, but I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it. We want some. Yeah, I want sliced bread. Every single person. Wet toast. Everybody must like the things that I like. If you don't, you're banned.
But yeah, slow organic growth is good with me.
No, I like it. Yeah.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta find the people who care, and I mean the people who care engage. It's probably why I'm not posting on there at all. No, I just don't post on Discord. I don't understand how people find the time to go and do those types of things. Like just constantly posting on Discord. I feel like I come back
in the
messages.
Forums day.
Yeah,
back in the forums day, you were shit talking all the time.
Oh yeah, of course I was. Of course I was. For me, I don't know. There was no real end game. So I came at this a little bit differently. Where when I was trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life, I had 3 different options: feed the people, clothe the people, or entertain the people. And I chose the path of entertainment rather than fashion design or agriculture. Coming from an agricultural society in Ireland, I studied agricultural science. I loved it. I loved geography and was really big into all of that. Fashion design by itself maybe had this feeling of like, if I could see somebody wearing something that I made, a garment that I made, and looking just boss, just feeling good about themselves and walking down the street, I was like, yes, like I've got that feeling of what I want out of this. And then the same thing for the entertainment of like being able to pull somebody out of whatever doldrum of a day that they're having and give them a laugh, like give them some feeling, like imbue some emotion into them, and make them think a little bit differently. I'd love to do that. And I think the only reason I'm not doing the other two is because I started working in the Counter-Strike stuff, and just like getting my first computer worth a summer job, 2 summer jobs or whatever, and then managed to make up enough money, bought my first computer, and it was kind of history from there. I just kind of, I think I hit a point where I was like 15 or something. I was like, I'm just doing this, and I can make something and put it out into a server and get instant feedback of like, this is either the worst thing I've ever played or this is okay. And it's like, I will take that. That feeling is right there, and yeah, and I just ran with it. From there, it was a matter of just get a job. Just get a job in the industry. Just get something. Get anything. Like, okay, cool. Check that off. Did it. Ship your first game. Great. Check that off. Did it. Move it up, from intern to associate, from associate to just game designer. Like getting, going through those promotion pools in more like medium-sized companies. And then you're like, okay, cool, I did that, check that off, and now all of a sudden it was definitely a little lull of like, what the hell is next? You know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, corporate tracks are cool, but none of that really gives you that type of idealism. I think I always want to learn how to. I always say that my passion is the intersection of play and business. So it's all about like, yeah, we are making games, but we are making games as a business. We are making products at the end of the day, but a product still has to be fun, entertaining, engaging. It still has to be as spicy as a game, but I still have to be able to sell it. I still have to be able to get it out in front of people. If I make it and I spend 3 years on it, spend 2 years on it, like it can't be wasted time. Like it has to be something that tries to push the economic side forward a little bit, maybe. You know what I mean? Or some sort of value. And I think that's where I've dipped to these days. Or I love to teach. I ran a little game developer association in Boulder for a little bit, for just a year, and then COVID hit, killed me on the whole thing. I got laid off from my job, totally killed my motivation after that. And it's like one of those things where you're just trying to like pick yourself back up off of the floor a little bit, and figure out the reason.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. Figure out what you're doing.
So for you, Sean, like the agriculture and fashion side, like what aspects of it do you bring into game development or the business side, or how you interact with people? Like what are some of the lessons you have from that?
Yeah, so like the biggest thing for me, I think, is just that people can create in very different ways, right? So I've always said that there's a lot of people who are designers that don't really realize that they're designers.
Oh yeah.
And then, like my good friend Bryant is a professional chef, has been for, 15 plus years. The things that this guy puts down on plates and the experience around it all, and I'm just like, this is class. Like, you don't even realize that you're crafting an experience by yourself. And you're doing it, but you don't classify it the same way that I do.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, is I don't necessarily take in a lot from all those sides. I'm a little bit of a dirtbag these days. I never thought I'd work in the fashion world, partly also because I'll wear the same fucking pair of jeans for forever. I'm a total degenerate. The same.
I mean, isn't that the
t-shirts
same
from-
for like? Isn't it the same for like chefs that are like, I just eat ramen, just
Yes.
top shelf ramen, but I will craft amazing experiences, right, for other people. I just, so, okay, nice.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, is like there's a lot of different play on all of those sides, but
yeah,
I think the most fundamental thing for me right now is the pursuit of understanding play. I actually come at it from a little bit of a different approach than my other peers, where I read a lot about the psychology of play in early childhood development. So how child's play develops into real games, how they resolve around rule sets, what that means within our own culture and society, of like what are the kinds of games that we play within our own day-to-day things that are not necessarily just games, right? But how these things work. But my girlfriend works in as a teacher in
Oh,
uh, elementary school, I guess, like 5 to 6 year olds, and
yeah.
we're constantly geeking out about like just child's play in general. And I'd probably flip this back to you then, right? Like as somebody who's getting deeper and deeper into the world of games, has been a gamer for a long time. Do you see different patterns in your child's play, like that you get to see now, where you're like, oh, I love it when my kid plays, or like they start forming their own form of play anywhere around the house, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely times where I just sit there and like watch him just play. I'm like, okay, what is he like? How is he interacting with his toys? He's a kid that's like he loves cars, vehicles in general, but cars for sure. And like he'll always line
I've
them
become
up. Yeah, exactly.
I've become a
He'll
freak. I just keep buying fucking Hot Wheels. Somebody stop me. Jesus Christ. I'm 31 years old. Why do I have Hot Wheels on my desk?
um yeah, I mean he loves like lining up. So we have like this little rug that has like roads and stuff on it, and like
Hmm.
he loves just lining the cars up, parking them, putting into different configurations, but within that experience. And then we have like the like magnet tiles that you can build stuff with, and like for him, his main thing is just stacking them on top of each other and saying he has a big tower and that's it. And I'm like, that's interesting. Most kids are like, I want to like pull them apart and like try to build things. And he's just like, I just like building them into one big tower. And then of course like smashing them when I engage with him and build it together with him. He loves smashing stuff. Um, but no, like yeah, I think yeah, that this sound weird, but watching kids is really like it's very insightful in terms of how they come up with these different ideas and just like there's no rules for them, right? Like until they encounter something, they're like, yeah, anything goes. And then if something bad happens that they don't like, they're like, all right, now we're gonna put a rule on this, right? They
Non-stop,
just
yeah.
yeah, and that's why like for at least when I started, one of my pillars was gonna be around just providing ways to experiment and explore, which has then kind of now morphed into emotions. I just want to tap into emotions like that. Like what, whenever I make a game, like what is the main emotion behind the game that I'm making? So like with Alone, it was that feeling of like you are alone.
Hmm.
Hence the title. You're alone. You're secluded. Like how can I get the music to help with that? How can I make the visuals help with that? And but then also like I want to give you strength so that you can like overcome that big baddie by just like killing all these, slapping these skeletons around and making you feel powerful. So emotion has definitely been like the pillar that I want to focus on. I think it does lend into exploration and experimentation in itself. Um, so yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I answered your question.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't even much of a question. It's just one of those things of just child's play is just cool to see.
Yeah,
I always
yeah,
feel like that I mean, from everything I've read and everything I've seen, they really jump into their own world, right?
yes,
Like
yeah.
these kids who are just like wearing Spider-Man costumes, they're like, I'm Spider-Man, I'm
Hmm.
Spidey boy. Like, they really think that they're Spider-Man. Like
Hmm.
everything in their world at that moment, everything that they're visualizing, everything that they see is like in that
Is that
context, and
yeah,
they're in it. They're really in it.
yeah,
So it's like they can dive into those things deeper than most people can these days because they're not constrained in those ways, and it's just to me it's like very interesting to see, and also then how you pull them out of it and interact with them within those worlds and spaces can really help them to formally shape their world around them, right? Like they're
yeah.
using play as a exploratory means to understand the
The
world that
world.
they're
Yeah,
in,
yep, yep.
and they're just kind of giving context and filler where they don't have anything and giving themselves a role and trying to see like, okay, like, well, what do I do in that role, right? Whereas
Yeah.
we're already
I think
formed a little bit more.
some of it also stems from like just control because they are not really in control of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Like I'm like, hey, it's bedtime, go to bed, right? Like it's time to eat, right? Like so all the major things it's like someone else is telling them what to do. Play is when they can express themselves, they can do whatever without constraint usually, right?
Totally.
And so I think a lot of it is that control of like, oh, I have these pieces now. I can do whatever I want with these pieces. I can't throw it at the wall because someone told me to throw it. I can't throw it at the wall, but maybe I can drive it on the wall now. And let's see what kind of reaction that gets, right? Like,
Cheeky little
so,
shits.
right? And they'll just stare at you too, just like a cat, like just like cats, fucking cats, man. They'll just stare at you and just like, I'm like, bro, you can't do that.
Stop, seriously.
It's not our house. This is rental.
Oh, fuck. All right, so we're at about an hour and 20 minutes. I just want to be
Yeah.
cautious of the time. I've never asked anybody this before, but Randy, do you have
Oh, shit.
anything to plug? I feel like.
Do I have anything to plug? I
Yeah.
do not have anything to
His
plug.
book.
No, nothing to plug. I guess my itch, but yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I'm not. I haven't made it like you guys have yet. So
I don't think that this is what's made it either. I'll be really honest with you. I don't think that this has made it.
I mean, what we have a world champion. We have probably an MLG ESL champion. Like you guys have made it, all right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, no.
I got my final question, which is centered around that, is what is your favorite game of all time?
Do it.
What's my favorite? Oh, my favorite game of all time is Portal 2, hands down.
Oh, the 2
Portal
as
2.
well, too.
Oh yeah, no, I love 1, but 2, perfection. That game is
Perfection.
just perfect from start to finish.
Is there
Yes.
something specific? Is it just the story? Is it the puzzle design? Which one would you rank higher for yourself?
Yeah, I would actually say none of those. It was more of like I was in that phase of like everything is about shooting and killing,
Mm-hmm.
and Portal 2 comes out, and it was the first person puzzle game. You're not killing things. I mean, I guess you killed the robots and knocked them over.
They
but-
don't exist. That's okay.
Yeah.
They have no feelings.
But I mean, they're just kind of disconnecting from the shooting and the violence. Like I was like, oh, I love this. Like, and then of course the story, the comedy, the writing in that game is just superb, right? The puzzles are definitely easier than the first one, but like they gradually get more difficult, and like there's the whole modding and community scene where you can get the harder experience if that's what you're looking for as well. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously, well, I can't say I don't know if you two have played it, but like the ending of Portal 2 lives in my mind forever in terms of how exploration and experimentation just like it's just chef's kiss on that. So yeah.
The only thing I remember is getting up on an elevator and then going up and then having all of these things sync for me, and I don't think I remember
Oh.
anything else past that.
You don't remember the fight?
I don't think
We
I
can talk.
do.
You can stop recording and then I can say it. But
Oh my god. I gotta go back and go play it. That's all I gotta do now. I think the thing that stands out in my mind bigger than that was like when they updated Portal 1 to have an extra section of ending to
yeah,
preempt for Portal 2, where
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, holy, okay, ooh, this is gonna fucking sweet. But alright. Randy, thank you very much for your time, dude. I appreciate the
guys.
chat, and just best of luck on your future endeavors. I'm
Thanks,
looking
man.
forward to continuing to see stuff come out.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Best of luck to y'all too.
Yep.
Keep doing